Is it better to be loved or feared?
That's a good question. It's nice to be both, but it's very difficult. But if I had my choice, I would rather be feared. Fear lasts longer than love. Friendships that are bought with money mean nothing. You see how it is around here. I make a joke, everybody laughs. I know I'm funny, but I'm not that funny. It's fear that keeps them loyal to me. But the trick is not to be hated. That's why I treat my men good, but not too good. I give them too much, then they don't need me. I give them just enough where they need me, but they don't hate me. Don't forget what I'm telling you.
What's up, folks? Welcome back. We at it again. Another amazing One Down podcast episode. Today is August 13th, 2026. And I think this is episode 42. 42 is in the bucket. Let me see. Yeah. Man, hope everybody doing good. This is an episode that I felt like, you know what? We're going to take a break from the motorcycle club stuff. Even though, like I said, I feel like a lot of the audience is heavily involved into the motorcycle club lifestyle. And there are people who log on for that. There are people who log on specifically for me and learning a little bit more about me or hearing some factual stories about some stuff that took place in my life at one point. And I said, you know what? That's what we'll touch on. I'll take y'all on a journey through it's not really a situation, but more like some of my travels, particularly with some high school stuff. And it traveled out of high school. But the way I'm gonna lay this out, when I've been thinking about it, it actually sounds like a movie. And if you ever and when you hear this, don't be surprised if you see something later and it looked like they stole my story, because I feel like this is something that somebody can run with it. What up, man? Good to see y'all tapping in. What's up, Art? Good to see you, man. Good to see everybody up in here. What up, Prospect? And yeah, so let me see. So yeah, again, thank you to everybody who's tapping in. People I know, people I don't know, people I used to be in touch with. What's happening? Prospect Red. And then, you know, because it's social media, the internet, there's people who, what up, Green Eyes? People that tap in that I don't fuck with. But, you know how the internet is. It allows that window for people to, peek in. Oh, shit. Said he might have to get at me on the prospect tip. Hey, man, come to One Down. Let One Down change your life in the most positive way. That's exactly what it's going to do. I guarantee you that. Promise you that. Yeah, so, what's up, Spotville? Much love to everybody, man, tapping in. Today is going to be a good one. I hope everybody been keeping yourselves cool, because it's been real hot out there. And along with that, taking care of your health. It's mandatory. You got to do that. No more eating junky. You can't say, I'm going to just put it off, man, and I'm going to start next week. Nuh-uh. You need to have, if your parents had their shit together, none of us would be as jacked up as we are. So now you, a parent, and now you know what you know, hopefully it ain't too late for you to make these changes for your kids, and your kids make those changes for their kids. Because at the rate things are going, it's factual that the government is out to poison everybody. Poison. Yep. So the story that I want to tell, let me put my little disclaimer up. The disclaimer is, this is all facts. This is over 30 years ago. And over 30 years? Close to 40 years ago. Yeah, it'll be touching almost at 40 years ago when this situation popped off. And then it kind of went forward some years beyond that. But I had a relative, but my relative. The beginning of this, some folks might know just the beginning part. So when I started school, we moved out to Ontario. And if you coming from one area to another area of moving from LA to IE to LA, wherever you're moving from, if you built like most people, what up, Veronica? You coming from a lifestyle of a certain neighborhood, okay? And cats from the streets know what I mean by that. And if you're not from the streets, by now the internet done kind of filled in the gaps for you. So when we moved to Ontario, I was coming from a lifestyle, young, 13, of, coming from the other side of the tracks, where in LA, you either come from living on the red side of the tracks or the blue side of the tracks, being black in most cases. If you're Hispanic, it's a different situation. If you're white, it's a different situation. So I moved to Ontario, and when I came to Ontario as a 8th grader, then I hit high school. When I hit high school, my auntie told me, you got a relative that's going to Ontario also. So within the first week, we bumped into each other. What's up? Good to have you in here. And so immediately we bonded. We'll just, what's up, Rose? We'll just call him Juan Lowe. That's his name, Juan Lowe. And if anybody knows me, then you know who that is. So the first day I bumped into him at the first day of school, we walked back to my house together. And then immediately that phrase, remember when y'all was young, hey, mama, can he spend the night? So asked, could he spend the night? And technically what happened was he spent the night for 4 years. Okay. He basically just lived with me for 4 years. That one night turned into 4 years of living with me. His mom lived in Ontario too. So we were extremely close. We were close. I never had a blood brother. So that was the closest thing I had to a brother, which was perfect for high school. We had a good chemistry, but we were opposite. And this is something that I'm finally starting to realize. We had a good chemistry, but we were opposite. And what I mean by that is a lot of stuff for us was opposite. Throughout high school, I was, let's just say a hustler. Throughout all 4 years of high school, I was a hustler. And I'm going to say this clearly again. Never, ever, ever sold drugs. Never sold drugs. I was a hustler. Now, school, we both played 4 years of football. Here's the opposites. He was quarterback, offense. I was defense. I played corner and strong safety. Girls, we liked different types of girls. Our social crowd, he seemed to have friends in high school. I had friends, but he had a different set of friends. And then we had some mutual friends, but he had like a different set of friends that I knew, but it wasn't like my close circle. And classes, 4 years, me and him never, ever, ever had a class together. Not once, ever. And what I noticed was the people that I had classes with, these were all the hoodlums. I had classes with the cats in the streets. He had classes with our friends that were in more like college prep classes. And my shit was like the basic bare minimum. I had classes not only with him, with like mostly all our friends. I didn't have classes with them. And that always kind of made me feel a little odd. Like, you know, they were like the smart ones. And I was, you know, the street dude. But I was okay with it. But I just really wish I had classes with them so, you know, we can have more interaction. I saw him at lunch and at recess, but never in classes. Now, throughout high school, I had a good reputation. 4 years of football, 1 year of wrestling, homecoming king, popular, you know, good spirit. And I was good. And so was Juan Lowe. And so was everybody that connected with us. We was all just good, fun, outgoing kids. But I was connected to the hustling side of life. I had another interest in the movies that I watched, the stuff that I read. You know, I took more interest in, you know, the streets, hustling movies, mafia movies, you know, mafia hustling documentaries, stuff like that. Now, I did not smoke, did not drink, did not do any drugs at all. Wasn't my thing. I say that because it leads up. He said, walking around with a camera, snapping shots. Yes, I love photography. Thank you for tapping in. This is my brother Isaac, went to high school with him. And yes, photography. I documented so much during high school. You know, I love photography. I love cameras. I didn't even call it photography. I just love taking pictures, you know. So thank you for saying that. And so I'm just kind of building a little backstory, you know. So one night, this was our senior year of school. We went to this house party, okay? And it was a backyard house party. Juan Lowe, he the one that had a car. I did not have a car. He had a car. So we drove to this house party. And on this particular night, I remember when I was getting dressed, I was like, should I wear a hat or not wear a hat? Because I had a whole bunch of hats. That was part of my little hustle also. Had a bunch of hats. So I remember putting on this Raider hat. Okay. And let me add this in too. During high school, my house, the front lawn, that's where we boxed. After school, blacks, Mexicans, whoever came to my house and we boxed in the front lawn. Okay. We stayed active. Football, I started, team captain, all that type of stuff. So I say all that just to give a physical background on my agilities back then. And you either got some hands or you don't. And I was known to have some hands. I was fast. So we go to this party, and I had on my Raiders hat. I say that because it plays its part. And we're standing in the back patio. Everybody who knows me intimately within our circle, they know for the most what's up with me, how I move, how I carry myself. Now, me and Juan Lowe, we done invested 4 years into each other because this is our senior year. And there's a guy, his initials, EG. That's his initials, EG. Hispanic cat. We always been cool. I was cool with everybody. Every nationality, I'm cool with everybody. At this particular moment, EG was buzzed / on the drunk side of stuff. I ain't got no problem with that. In addition to that, we cool. But things got weird. He came up to me. He was like, "Oh, what's up, man? Have a drink." And so I was like, "What up, Steve?" I said, "Nah, man, I don't drink. You know I don't drink." And then he was just right in front of me. Probably like just real close, enough to give somebody the drink. And what he had in his hand was an old English 40-ounce bottle. Okay, that was what was in his hand. And Juan Lowe is standing right next to me. There's a bunch of kids in the background. It's a house party. Okay. And he told me again, "Come on, man, have a drink." And he put the bottle towards me again. And so at this point, I was like, "Come on, man." I said, "You know I don't drink, EG." So I pushed the bottle or pushed his hand back. Okay. And remember, we cool. This is somebody I know in high school, but he's not in my circle. He's connected to 2 other people that I know. And so I pushed his hand back. As soon as I pushed his hand back, all I remember seeing was him wind up like a baseball player with the bottle right in front of me, probably like 2 arm distance away now. Wind that bottle up like it's a baseball, and then just right in front of me, threw it. And I just saw the 40-ounce bottle coming straight from my face. And this is all quick. I saw it coming straight from my face, and my instinct, I just put my head down like this. And as soon as I put my head down, pow, the bottle hit my head. And when it hit my head, luckily, there's a few things to say luckily. Luckily, I saw him throwing the bottle. Luckily, I was able to put my head down. Luckily, he threw it so hard that it shattered when it hit me in the head. If it wouldn't have shattered, it could have probably cracked my skull. If it wouldn't have shattered, if I didn't put my face down, it would have hit me dead in my face, and my life would have been changed forever, physically, visually. And so soon as it hit me, boom, I felt that feeling of a slight knockout for like a half a second. And I remember I opened my eyes up and it was just glass everywhere, and I was still standing up. And then he was just staring at me. And then immediately I reached for my thumper. Okay. And right when I reached for my thumper, I pulled it out. And as soon as I pulled it out, Juan Lowe grabbed my hand. And right when he grabbed my hand, what up, Carlos? Right when he grabbed my hand, what up, Michelle? She said, "Was that party at my house?" I'm not sure whose house it was at, but if the details fit that it was at your house, Michelle, I'm almost thinking it could have been. So as soon as I went to pull out my thumper, Juan Lowe grabbed my hand, and he was like, "No, don't do that." And I looked at EG, and he just looked like a ghost. And I tried to pull even harder with Juan Lo holding my hand to not let me pull it out. And so soon as EG kind of like realized what was going on, he turned around and he ran through the back sliding door through the house. So now at this point, we run on the side of the house to catch him coming out the front. But us running through the kids to get out, when we got to the front, all we saw was a car leaving. So Juan Lo, if it wasn't for him holding my hand with all the restraint that he had in his body to keep me from pulling out that thumper, either I wouldn't be sitting here right now, I'll be sitting somewhere else, or I'd just be getting home and forfeited so much of my life. So me and Juan Lo, we drive around. We drive around looking for him. You know, places he could have been, some other kid's house he could have went to. And so we end up going back to my house. I'm mad. I'm mad the whole night. I don't even think I slept. So, wow, I wouldn't have met you as a cool gentleman. Well, oh, I remember Belle Biv DeVoe music playing in the background. This is Michelle. We went to high school together. And I'm glad you typed it in, Michelle. So we get to my house. I did not sleep. I'm mad. The next morning, this is the year of like 1989 going into 90, 89 going into 90. And I am 17 going on 18. My senior year. I had a pager my senior year. And so I get a text message, and it's from what up, Kimmy? All these are high school people right here tapping in. Thank y'all. I get a text message, okay, from a number. And so I called the number, and it's a white kid named RK. That's his name, RK. That's his initials. And so he says, "Hey, we told EG what he did, man, was wrong, and he should apologize to you." And so it was RK with an Asian type dude, JP, and was at JP's house, and all three of them was there. So I remember saying, like, I said, is EG right there? And then I said, yeah. I said, well, if he right there, y'all need to come over here in person and let him, talk to me in person. And then he said he's scared to come over there because he felt that you're gonna put him 6 feet deep. And I said, no, I ain't gonna do that. He just need to come see me in person. He said, well, we told him he need to apologize. I said, well, what's going to happen? They said, well, we're going to bring him over there. I said, well, bring him over here. Have him apologize. So what's up, Links? And so I hang up the phone. My little relative, his name starts with a C. Okay. We're going to call him C. He is up and walking around the house. So when I hung up the phone, he was at the time maybe about 10 years old. 10? Yeah, he probably about 10 years old. And I'm about 7, 8 years older than him. He was like, what's wrong with you? I said, nothing, man. He said, oh, you look mad. I said, you know what? You're going to help me out. He was like, okay. I said, I'm gonna pretend like I'm cutting your hair in the driveway. So we're gonna get a chair and I'm gonna pretend like I'm cutting your hair. And when these dudes pull up, one of them is gonna walk up to apologize to me. And if I don't like how this happens, I'm gonna beat him down. And when I beat him down, I'm gonna bust him in the head with this shovel. My little cousin was like, okay, cool, let's do this. So we go get a chair. I put it in the driveway. I get this extension cord, plug the clippers into it. Didn't plug the extension cord into the wall at all. Got this shovel, put it on the side of the house. And we sitting there. And then, yep, I see the car coming up the street. The car coming up the street. They pull up. I see EG in the back seat. And I see RK and JP in the front seat. So RK get out the car and walk up. He was like, well, he in the back seat. I said, tell him to come over here. All right. He said he just, hope that you don't night him. I said, man, I ain't doing that. So he, EG starts walking up. The moment he gets out the car with the funkiest, don't give a fuck attitude. Just the funkiest, total opposite attitude of, either wanting to apologize or being forced to come apologize. So he walks up to me with just a jacked up body language, just a don't give a shit look on his face. And I'm standing there and I'm mad. And so I give my little cousin the clippers. And so he walks up. He was like, sorry. And I was like, that's all you got to say? Yeah. And so right at that moment, bam, I fired on him. And when I hit him, we was standing face to face. It wasn't a cheap shot. It was him straight in front of me. The way that he said what he said, I didn't feel anything from it. I felt it was disrespectful. And I'm standing right in front of him. And like I said, he said what he said. I said, that's all you got to say? He said, yep, with an attitude. Bam. So as soon as I hit him, when I hit him, his face kind of turned to the right. And when he turned to the right, he was already knocked out. He was knocked out and his face went straight down, pow, to the cement. And when his face hit the cement, I don't know if you ever heard somebody get knocked out or see it, a certain type of knockout, they just go straight to sleep. They start snoring. And they keep doing that. So what happened was when I looked at them in the car, they looking in the car like they don't want to have nothing to do with this. So I yelled at them. I said, come get this motherfucker. And so they get out the car. They walk up to him to pick him up. And when they picked him up and turned him over, all this teeth right here, his bottom teeth had went through it. His bottom teeth somehow caught the inside of his lip and just cut all straight through this right here when he turned over. And so what I didn't mention was as soon as I hit him, bam, and he hit the ground, I looked at my little relative and he looking at me and he said, go get the shovel. And then I was just like, nah. He's like, go get the shovel. I'm going to get it. And I was like, nah, man, sit down. This little dude really wanted me to do the shovel part. And so they drag EG up out of there, get him to the car, and they left. This was, what up, Luther? This was on a Saturday morning because the house party was on a Friday. Sunday, nothing. Monday, we get to high school. Jeff, hey, how y'all doing? So the other guys, they didn't I saw him in school, but I didn't see EG. I didn't see him Monday, didn't see him Tuesday, didn't see him Wednesday, Thursday. He was gone, disappeared from school forever, just completely gone. But we heard that his mom pulled him out of school and really relocated him. But I also want you to know that kids and even parents, they were built different back then. This was everything that would have hit the news today. It would have made its way back to school, people getting suspended. And where I grew up, cats didn't speak on stuff. They had some zip lip. And that has a lot to do with how I stand today. And I see the difference big time from back then to now. So he was completely gone. And that was nothing that I wore on my shoulder as any type of proud or clout or anything like that. Anything. I was really, really upset that he could be that careless. And my life could have been immediately changed from that night. So I finished out high school. And when it came time to graduate, this is another chapter to this. Now me and Juan Lowe are in a position to continue to move forward or not. Forward meaning, what are we going to do after high school? So I was going to go to Chaffee College. And I was trying to get Juan Lowe to go with me. And he said, nah, man, it's boring out here. I want to go back to LA. I don't like being out here. It's boring. I was like, man, we, meaning black folks who migrated from LA in the 80s to get out this way, it was for a reason. I said, man, don't go back to LA. Leave it alone. He said, nah, man, you going to college and I was just like, I ain't going because I got the smarts to go. I'm going just because. It's just a JC, So he refused to go. He wanted to go back to LA. So he goes to LA. I go to Chaffee College. First week or first 2 weeks of Chaffee College, I'm there. I don't feel connected to college at all. And I'm walking through the quad and I'm walking and I felt somebody staring at me from like 15 feet away. And so right when I looked at him, as I got about 10 feet to him, I looked and it was EG sitting in the quad. And I looked right at him and he looked up at me. And he had a completely different look in his eye. What up, Ryan? What up, Yvonne? He had the most, sorry, apologetic, deflated look in his eyes, in his spirit. He had a dysfunction situation right here, and I had nothing to say to him. So I just looked at him and I just looked away and I kept walking. And never saw him again. Never saw him at Chaffee College again, ever. So fast forward a few years. Now, Juan Lowe is living in LA. I'm still out in the IE. I go visit him in LA. And when I go visit him, he is very intertwined with his neighborhood. Okay. Very intertwined with his neighborhood. And his neighborhood is on the Crip side of stuff. When he was living with me, he was affiliated on the Red side of stuff. So now he's back out there. And so when I went and visited him, I could see that, you know, he's been touched by the neighborhood with some regrooming. And I just felt there was, you know, an understandable disconnection. And, you know, we're growing up and taking our paths. And so one day he calls me and he says, hey, I need to get some thumpers for this lick. And I said, man, I don't mess with that stuff. I ain't got nothing to do with that. And he got mad at me because I said, no, I ain't got nothing to do with that. And I said, you shouldn't either. So he tells me that it's some Asians that run an underground gambling event. And they about to go up in there and lay everybody down and get everything of value and run up out of there. I said, man, listen, you don't think these cats are prepared for some fools to come through there? I said, man, leave that alone. Don't mess with it. I said, you know, you can come back out here and stay with me. He on a totally different page. Totally different page. So he gets mad at me. We hang up the phone and I can feel that there's static, you know, but I felt good that, you know, I told him, nope, he don't need to have nothing to do with that. So maybe a couple of weeks later, I get word that he got busted for robbing a bank. And I was just like, what? So he gets cracked. And I say this part for people because we learn from our mistakes. And we learn the law, most of us learn from our mistakes. And we learn the law by accidentally breaking it. Okay? And when people do certain crimes, you really don't know what the fuck you up against when they have made some modifications to these crimes that pull you in more than what you actually did in the crime. So I say that because he was an accessory with the bank robbery. The cat who had the gun, okay, he gets a certain amount of years. Juan Lowe did not have a gun, but basically got charged the same exact thing as the dude with the gun. So he does 9 years Fed time, 9 years in the feds. And with that, you know, I was able to learn from his mistake. And when he gets out, I didn't know exactly when he got out, but I was having a huge magazine release party for my magazine. I had a huge magazine release party. So he contacted me and told me he was going to come through. And this was him coming through, I think, for the first time me seeing him after he did his 9 years. So at my magazine release party, it's big, a lot of people there. I have built now over 9 years of friendships with people that he never met, you know? And I say that because some of the guys who were there were some cats that I had built a good friendship with. And one of them in particular was a big brother. I don't know if he stood about 6'5", 6'6", 6'6" super duper swole. You know, he could put a Coke can on his chest and pose, and the Coke can will sit right here. He done did time in the pen also. And he not just, I mean, he's swole and tall. And he got hands, you know. So when Juan Lowe gets to the party, he comes with cats from his neighborhood. I didn't expect that, but I'm okay with it because I'm happy to see him. So he, you know, I greet him, you know, and his energy is different, you know, and I can tell that being institutionalized for 9 years, it's worked on him, you know. And so next thing I know, in the later part of the night, I catch wind. People's like, yo, folks, Juan Lowe, man, he out there about to get it up with the big motherfucker. And I was like, what? And so I run outside, and yep, Juan Lowe, he is completely a different person that I've ever met in all the years I've known him. He's standing there. He's like, fuck you, cuz, nigga, this such and such, and what. And then the dude who I'm talking about is big and swole. He mad. I think he got his shirt off. And he telling me, he's like, Goldie, you better get that motherfucker. You better get him. And I'm just like, whoa, none of this ain't supposed to happen like this, you know? And so Juan Lowe, and I'm telling him, man, chill, man, what's going on? And he just really gone. He in like some just some violent gangbanging talk stuff. And so I went, and then they start getting closer to each other. And Juan Lowe got his partners there, and the big dude I'm talking about, he got his partners there. And I already know the big dude I'm talking about got hands. And I already know that the cats that's on his team, they got hands because they are occupied in a certain type of occupation that requires them to squab. Security. I don't want you thinking they police. They just security. That's what they are. They're security. And so next thing I know, I went to kind of put my hand on the big dude. And at that moment, it felt like my arm had touched penitentiary steel or literally a brick wall. That's what his body felt like. And I remember going God dang. And then I tried to turn to Juan Lowe, and it was just at that moment, that split second, everything collided. And the only thing I could do at that moment was let it pop. And Juan Lowe tried to give a swing, and it didn't work. The big dude came with the most real life Mike Tyson ultimate combination hook, uppercut, deadly just combination anybody can see in real life. And Juan Lowe was done. And then the big dude was like, fuck, man. He was mad that it went that far. He was really mad that it went that far and was really trying to avoid it. And then when I looked up, Juan Lowe's partners, they getting mollywopped. Completely mollywopped, drug on. Completely. And then things just kind of like, and cats, start getting up out of there. The big dude and his partners getting up out of there. And now Juan Lowe and his folks, they getting picked up, and, so, his partners and him, they get to their vehicles and they leave. I'm disappointed that he allowed himself to get to a point and be such an embarrassing disturbance at my event that he was invited to. I'm not okay with that. But I never said anything to him. I was expecting him to hit me up maybe later that night, which was early in the morning, or the next day. Possibly something like, hey, man, sorry that shit popped off. But no, I never heard from him. Never heard from him. And then I think years go by or something. And then I hear that, he was salty, which I was just like, okay, well, I didn't do nothing. I tried to stop it as much as I could, but he wanted that funk. He wanted the squab. And so then I hear this girl hits me up. And she was Puerto Rican. She says, Goldie, is Juan Lowe your cousin? I was like, yeah, what made you ask that out the blue? And she says, okay, I got a big problem. And I was like, what's up? She said, I've been seeing the big dude who beat Juan Lowe down. I said, what? She said, yeah, that's who I've been seeing. But low key, I don't know how I bumped into Juan Lowe and we've been messing around. I said, you are crazy. I said, does Juan Lowe know that that's your dude? And she said, nope. I said, I don't know how. You got to stop that. Leave it alone. Y'all got to stop that. I said, that's bad. And so I just stepped away from that and stepped away from it. So now a few more years, then Juan Lowe hits me up out of the blue, calls me to tell me that he has cancer and he's passing away like within a few weeks. That was devastating. And so I asked him, could I come see him? He said, nah. And then he changed his mind. He said, come through. And so I went and saw him. And shortly after that, he departed planet Earth. That was, something that I look at and, throughout the whole 4 years he was with me, he was good. And I'm glad that I was there to provide a safe nest for him in my mom's home and a friendship and a brotherhood, that, kept him and us protected. And I'm glad that he was there, to help me and prevent me from a situation that I did not provoke that could have changed my life when the dude hit me in the head with the bottle. And he stopped me from pulling out a thumper that at that moment There was nothing stopping me from using it. And I've always thanked him and the spirits for that. And then when things came back around, I said no to try to stop him from doing something. But, he went around that and ended up, in that bank situation. Which ultimately changed his life and ultimately, ended it. I feel that when people go to prison, I feel that the prison system does not, it's not a place for correcting people. And the food that they give people, I think, is extremely contaminated. A lot of people come out with cancer from prison. And I feel that, the cancer was kicked in from him being in prison. Yeah. So that's you always wonder like where people come from, what they've been through, why they the way they are, shit that they've seen. You just have no idea, but that's a story that I wanted to share. And that's, hope it adds up, hope it adds up. But, certain people in our life, you can only look out for them for so long. You can only help them so much, and I'm not going to ever put myself in harm's way trying to save somebody. I'm not going to put myself in harm's way, because my primary is me. Okay. I can only do so much. And I have noticed that when people are separated from me in life, that's one of their biggest pains, because they know that I was always good to them. All right. Well, that's it, man. So much love and respect. I'm going to cut this one short right now. I got to pee extremely bad. So y'all be good out there. And I don't want to say hold on. So y'all take care.